Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the studentloanjustice.org live stream for Sunday, April 3rd, 2022. April 3rd already. Hope everybody had a great weekend. This is the biggest week in the history of our organization, guys. Our bill is being marked up as we speak. Right now, Republican senators all over the country are thinking this to themselves, should I support this bill or should I not? We have to hit them very, very, very hard. We also have to hit the president very, very, very hard because along with that other stuff I just said, the president and his staff are thinking, what the F are we going to do about the student loan thing? We have to do something soon. Like this week, they need to make a decision and probably even announce whether or not they're going to extend the repayment pause. So it will be an extraordinarily interesting week, and much depends. This stuff is not set in stone, guys. This stuff does not happen in a vacuum. Much depends on how much or how little, hopefully much, we in this group do. You know, we've got over 1 million people on our petition, 200,000 people across our other platforms. We've got an army to command. We've got a nuclear strength muscle to flex. But that only is meaningful when you out there help us. We've come a long ways in the past 2 years. You know, nobody was talking about canceling student loans by executive order 2 years ago. They weren't. Except for us. We started the petition, change.org/cancel student loans, that started that whole ball rolling. We're thrilled that Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer have embraced the concept. But guys, and we're a very nonpartisan group. So let me just say that first. And when I tell you that, I'm sorry, but Elizabeth Warren's up to $50,000 loan cancellation gimmick is a joke. It's a cruel joke. And we've seen it before. We have seen the bad guys foist loan cancellation scheme after loan cancellation scheme upon us for the past 17 years since we've been doing this, but even going back to the mid-90s, where the game is to keep bankruptcy gone and keep trotting out these loan cancellation gimmicks that sound good and keep the people down or busy or distracted, or keep the people not worried about it, when in fact 99% of the people who try for those loan cancellations are disqualified. And these people are typically left owing far more than had they never even tried in the first place. The loan forgiveness we're going to get in the absence of bankruptcy protections, the threat of bankruptcy, is going to be nonsense. It's going to be almost nothing for almost everyone. Joe Biden could hold a press conference tomorrow and say, ladies and gentlemen, I am now going to cancel up to $50,000 in student loans. And there's a world of hurt hiding between those two words, up to. Up to $50,000 could mean anything. And if the people in Washington, D.C. have their way, it will mean almost nothing for almost everyone, like it has meant for every other loan cancellation program going back to 1995. So we've got our work cut out for us, folks, and we need you. You know, there would be no bankruptcy bill, S-2598. That wouldn't even be there, but for the work that people on this group have done. I kid you not. I kind of don't think we'd be talking about student loan cancellation by executive order. But for all the millions of people who signed our petition and all the people on our group, you know who you are, and I salute you, by the way, who did have just a tremendous amount of effort spreading the word. So this week, there's one special project I'm going to do. We are going to do a call to Joe Biden to, number one, cancel all federally owned student loans. Number two, to return bankruptcy protections to student loans, both him and Congress. Those are the two things we're fighting for. We're going to do a clarion call to the president and probably to Congress as well. It'll be in the form of one tweet. I hate Twitter. You probably hate Twitter. Twitter's kind of useful, I have to say. So if you don't have one, I would strongly suggest that you get a Twitter account, if only for the purposes of this thing we're engaged in here, canceling student loans. By the way, if you have any questions or comments, throw them out. If I can see them on Facebook or Twitter, I will gladly respond to them. Tonight, I want to talk about why the lending system is failed. And I'm being generous when I just say, oh, the lending system has failed. No. This lending system, federal student loan system, is failed like no other lending system in our nation's history. Like, let's look at one of the more recent loan system failures. That would be the subprime home mortgage crisis. Terrible thing. People lost their homes. Probably hundreds of thousands, millions of people, I think, a few million people lost their homes. It was a bad thing. Do you know what the default rate was for subprime home mortgages? It was 20%. 1 in 5. That's terrible, by the way. That's ridiculous. Like Elizabeth Warren once said, if 1 in 5 toasters from a certain manufacturer were exploding, we would recall those toasters immediately. 1 in 5, 20% default rate. Do you know what the default rate for federal student loans is? Well, we know that for 2004 students, it's 40%, double the rate of subprime home mortgages. But we also know that people who left school in 2004 were borrowing less than a third of what's being borrowed today. So what do you think the default rate is going to be for more recent borrowers? Is it going to be 50%? Yeah. Is it going to be 60%? Probably. Is it going to be 70, 75%? Would not be surprised a bit. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if 80% of all current student loan borrowers were to default on their loans, given everything else being equal. So if the subprime home mortgage thing was failed, what do you call federal student loans? Here's another data point. And this is just before the pandemic, by the way. Before the pandemic, 80%, 4 out of 5 of all federal student loan borrowers were underwater on their loans. 64.3%, nearly 2/3 of federal student loan borrowers were not making payments at all. And even taking out the people who were in school, it's still 57%, so well more than half were not making payments on their loans at all before the pandemic. The rest were paying, and some were paying through the freaking nose, and their loan balances were nonetheless going up, not down. I think of people like, I'm not going to say her name again, but she originally borrowed $26,000. She has repaid $93,000 on this $26,000 loan. And they claim that she still owes $132,000. Like, that is how savage and brutal and ruinous, dangerous and weaponized these federal student loans have become. I could go on and on, by the way. Chris in Wisconsin, he originally borrowed $80,000. He's paid back nearly $200,000, and he still owes $235,000. So, but anyways, back to the first thing. When 80%, most of them not paying at all, but 80% of them are underwater, that is a catastrophically, cataclysmically, galactically failed lending system. Hey, Terry Allers, we have a comment here. How are you, Terry? She says, my local news Facebook site had a student loan article posted last week. First time I ever saw this topic covered. Right, Terry? The media has been really bad about reporting on the student loan issue in the recent decades. When we first started this group, believe it or not, it started with us being featured top story on 60 Minutes, which was a pretty good thing, us and our members and so forth. But that kind of press coverage was few and far between. Like, for the first few years of our existence since 2005, we might see one student loan article written per month. And usually it was just propaganda, just nonsense. So we've certainly come a long way, Terry. The press is now doing a lot better job at covering this topic, but there's just as much propaganda and corporate and lender, misinformation out there, disinformation, as we've ever seen, if not more. So sometimes more is not better. But, you know, like I said, guys, this does not happen in a vacuum. We are going to do a very special project tomorrow. As I said earlier in this live stream, we're going to do a thing to Joe Biden, and we're going to copy it to Congress. We're going to ask everyone to not only retweet that tweet, but also quote tweet it to at least like 3 media organizations, news organizations, both national and in their local area. So we're going to hit this very hard tomorrow, Monday morning. And I can only hope and I can only ask you to join us in helping to make a big splash tomorrow morning with this. It could go viral. We're going to word the tweet so that it hopefully will spread. We'll like a chain reaction type thing. I'm trying to get it to go viral. Hey, Kelly Smith, how are you, Kelly? Kelly says, I did not know there was even such a thing as help for this until 2 weeks ago. Yeah, you know, we've been on our own for many years. We've been a voice in the wilderness, Kelly, but I'm thrilled to say, I mean, we have come so far in the past 2 years. It's amazing. You know, 2 years ago, I was wandering around Iowa following Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg and Joe Biden from small town to small town. And I was just hound dogging them, bird dogging them on the bankruptcy issue. Here we are today. And by the way, Joe Biden essentially laughed me out of the room on what was at the time a very moderate question about returning bankruptcy to student loans. So here we are 2 years later, and Joe Biden not only, at least on paper, says that he's for the return of bankruptcy protections. He made some wildly promising promises just before the election, where he was saying things like, I will eliminate your student loan debt if you make less than $125,000 a year and you went to a public college or HBCU. So yeah, we're going to need your help tomorrow, guys. And if you look at down here, you will see our Twitter handle. So go to Twitter and go to Student Loan Just #1. Follow us. Tomorrow morning, like after around 10 a.m. Eastern time, look at our pinned tweet. So it's the first tweet that you're going to see from us. That will be the one that we are trying to get launched into the Twitter sphere. I appreciate it, Kelly. Appreciate all your help, by the way. To everybody out there who's been doing our daily actions, for example, we appreciate it greatly. It is hugely helpful. So if you go to studentloanjustice.org and click on the daily actions, you can see our daily actions going back, I think, 5 months. If you've never done one of our daily actions, I strongly urge you to do maybe a month's worth, maybe a couple months worth. They go really quick, by the way. It's mostly Twitter stuff. I know people hate Twitter, but you can probably do a month worth of our daily actions in 15 minutes or something. Like, it's 80% of it is Twitter. There's a few email things, a few phone call things, but it really does not take long. So I appreciate it, Kelly and Terry. And I see we have a few other comments here. Hopefully I can see them. But yeah, guys, the lending system is failed. It's not your fault. Lending systems fail from time to time, sometimes spectacularly. Look at, as I said, the subprime home mortgage crisis. Look at the savings and loan scandal of the mid 80s, if you're old enough to remember that. It happens. And it's not a bad borrower thing. It's a bad lender scandal. It's a bad lending system thing. Hey, we've got a few more comments here. Kelly Smith says, I borrowed $70K and now owe almost $130K. That is, frankly, Kelly, that's more the rule than the exception. You know, we have people, don't even get me started. There's so many people, 80%, 4 out of 5, who have increasing loan balances. This lending system is disgusting. And by the way, if you look at average loan balance versus age, you would expect that the highest loan balances would be at like age 25 or whenever people on average get out of college, and that it should go down from there. Like by the time people are in their 50s, the average student loan borrower should have a balance that's very small. In fact, The opposite is what is going on with federal student loans. You look at average loan balance over time versus age, and it goes up, not down. And today, people over the age of 50 now outnumber people over the under the age of 25 with student loans. And despite having borrowed far less, back in the 80s or 90s or even 70s, they owe far more, 300% more. Like, I would laugh because it's so ridiculous, except that it's not. I mean, this is destroying people. This is not the way any kind of even slightly healthy, functioning lending system should look. This is the opposite of that. And if, by the way, if you go to our Medium page, you can see source data for all the claims that I will make tonight. We are very diligent, thorough, scrupulous, and ethical and honest and risk-averse researchers. We only use the best available data out there, which is from the Department of Education. Very rarely we'll use other data sources when we're forced to, like polling data from the Pew and Gallup companies. But most of our research is based directly on Department of Education data, and it's not perfect data, but it's the best data that there is out there. And there's a lot of bad data out there, by the way, guys, I'll just say. But yeah, if you go here to our Medium site, you can see if you read the first like 6 or 7 articles there, you'll see some jaw-dropping claims being made, like the stuff that I said over the past 15 minutes. All that stuff is true, guys. And taken together, any rational observer should, absolutely must come to precisely the same conclusion that we've come to, and that is that this lending system is failed. It's done. And remember this also, guys, before the pandemic, as I said, 2/3 of everybody wasn't paying. Today, right now, almost no one is making payments on their loans. And whenever they try and turn this lending system back on, supposedly May 1st, I think we'll know this week one way or the other. I'm sorry, but very few people will pay. In fact, I'd be stunned if even 20% of the borrowers resumed paying their student loans when they start demanding it. So we are absolutely going to see a mass default, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to happen if they turn the lending system back on. Frankly, I think they're fools to do that. Frankly, I think they're fools not to just cancel all of the loans. And that will not benefit the wealthy largely, by the way. Canceling student loans will overwhelmingly largely benefit the unwealthy, the bottom 80% of earners. That's another big lie that our opposition is spreading like wildfire in the media right now. So this project we're doing tomorrow on Twitter, it's important, guys. We've got to stand up to the bad guys. They got the money, they got the resources, they got the secret handshake, they got the corporate media at their fingertips. We don't have any of that. What we have are people, you and me, normal human beings with computers and hopefully Twitter accounts. So I know this is like a marathon. It feels like we're in the last couple miles, and that's at least the way it feels to me. But this last stretch is the most important. Like, we need to double down and fight harder than we've ever fought over the next couple of weeks. It's critical for our bill. It's critical for pushing Biden to actually cancel the loans. It's critical for everything. So if ever you were going to fight and help us spread the word, I'd say the next couple of weeks, as I think much will be determined in the next 2 weeks. And it's just so important. So please, if you've never done anything for student loan justice or to fight for your own self, for your own student loan justice, starting now, today, tomorrow morning, let's say, would be exactly when you should start. So, yeah, guys, I'm excited. We need to fight. Nobody's going to fight this battle for us. The people at Forbes magazine are terrible. They are our opposition. They make their livings from this lending scam. The last thing they want is to see this lending system go away. The first thing they want is for you to read their propaganda, sit back, wait and watch and worry and do nothing. That's what our opposition wants. They want you to believe that everything will be okay and you can just forget about this stupid problem. And I know it's very tempting to let them play that psychological trick on you, because nobody wants to fight for student loan justice. I mean, it's disgusting. Nobody wants to think about their student loans, let alone go out of their way to actually fight for student loan justice. It's a very brilliant con that the people who architected this lending system played on us. We have many things going against us, but guys, we've got over 1 million people on our side. We've got the Constitution on our side. And probably the most important policy point I'm going to make tonight, and I hope you'll remember this, we're fighting for bankruptcy. We're fighting for student loan cancellation. Those are two things. Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. It's a terrible thing to have to do. But many years, in fact, several decades worth of keen observation at this point have taught us that we are not going to see meaningful student loan cancellation. This up to $50,000 thing, it's going to turn out to be nothing, almost nothing for almost everyone, unless and until we get the threat of bankruptcy returned to us. Very few people should even have to file when we get the right returned. But as long as bankruptcy is gone, we're going to get fake loan cancellation, and this problem will continue, and we can't have that. The lending system's dead. It's going away one way or the other. But this could have a good ending, and this could have a very bad ending. The good ending is what we're fighting for, where 45 million people are set free. They are happy and encouraged, and they have a new lease on their lives. They can move on, and the economy prospers, and everybody, but for maybe a few haters, very small number of people, are going to be perfectly fine, and the nation will do well. That's the good ending. The bad ending is where our opposition wins the day, and we have a very painful, slow, maybe even years long, dystopian, probably socially and civilly unrestful unwinding to this failed lending scam. We don't want that second thing. We want that first thing. And a very important warning for you all: our opposition would love to see a mass default as long as the threat of bankruptcy remains gone. So I don't know what Joe Biden's going to do on May 1st. We'll hopefully find out this week. But think about this. Whenever they do decide to turn on this lending scam again and force people to start repaying, would you rather face that reality? Chances are you're not going to pay. Would you rather face that reality with the threat of bankruptcy back on your side as it exists for all other loans? Or would you rather face that reality naked and afraid and vulnerable and with your ass on the table for the student loan sharks, the collection goons, to serve themselves with? Sorry if I put some weird images in your mind. Would you rather be protected by at least the toothpick of power that the threat of bankruptcy provides, or would you rather be totally vulnerable to these lending goons, the sharks, the snakes, the swamp people? A few more comments here. 10 more comments. I don't know, guys. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through all these. We'll see. Terry says, have been involved and will continue to be. I know you have been, Terry. I've seen you on the boards. I appreciate it. Kelly, if you're the Kelly I'm thinking about, me and Kelly go back to 2007, believe it or not. Kelly was kind enough to meet me at a shopping mall in Central California, and I think he donated like $20 to me or something, whatever. But it was awesome. And Kelly, I salute you. You know, we are the pioneers in this. Yes, that was you. That's right. I remember very well. I remember you came up and said, I know this is crazy, but I'm totally on your side. Can't believe you're doing what you're doing. I applaud your efforts. And boom, that was it. It was cool. That was the very first nationwide trip we ever made fighting for student loan justice, by the way. So glad you're still here fighting with us, Kelly. So yeah, guys. Let's see here. Been clapping for your articles. Yes, please go to our Medium site, clap for our articles. It helps. More than anything, get those articles to the people who need to see them. Right now, as I said, we're a nonpartisan group, but we got to push the Republicans, guys. We're a nonpartisan group, but the Republicans in Congress typically oppose us, and that is just a fact. We've got a very strong conservative argument to make. If you look at, I think, our most recent article, you'll see that we plotted the 10 best and the 10 worst states on student loan debt. So that's the amount of debt in the state on average versus what people typically earn in those states. And you will see that all of the worst states, it's like a fist in the South. It's a very solid contiguous thing. It's from Florida on the south and on the east, going up north to North Carolina, and going west to Alabama, and everything in the middle: Georgia, Tennessee, Arkansas, all those states. So the South is being wrecked by student loans, and their elected representatives are cutting their throats. And Texas is a big one too. What would happen if we took $141 billion from the purses and wallets of people in Texas and gave that money to the federal government? I think that would probably turn the state into some sort of a second or even third world place. It would not be good. It would wreck the state. Well, that's exactly how much people in Texas owe in mostly federal student loan debt. And it's the same thing goes for Florida and Tennessee and Mississippi and Georgia, all those other states that I said. So we've got a very strong conservative argument to make, but we've got to hit the Republicans in Congress very hard. And that'll be Tuesday's special project, by the way. Tomorrow, we're going to nail Joe Biden to the wall, and we're going to hopefully spread a viral thing. So we need you tomorrow. I hope you'll be there for us. So I appreciate all that, Kelly. Yeah, Kelly, we were young men when this thing started. Maybe not young men, but I was 35 and now I'm 52. So you must have been like 33 when we met. But yeah, it's just crazy. I sometimes wonder what happened to some of our older members as well, like the people who went on 60 Minutes with me. But this problem has not gotten smaller. Let me tell you, way back when we started this, we only owed about $350 billion in student loan debt, and we're now pushing on $2 trillion. And this lending system has gone from a terrible thing to a nationally threatening thing. So the stakes are far, far, far higher right now. Hey, Terry Ellers says I already read that comment. Okay. Okay, guys, that's my spiel for tonight, Sunday night. I hope that you're inspired and encouraged to help us, because as I said, we are the pioneers. Nobody's going to do this stuff if we don't do it. It's not hard, but it takes a little bit of effort. And there's a lot riding on it, because we're fighting not only for ourselves, we're fighting for 44 million people in the country who don't know about us. And we're fighting for tens or hundreds of millions of people who are going to follow in our footsteps. And if they can do to other debt what they've done to student loans, and believe me, they would love to. This is the camel's nose under the tent. The bad people, the lenders, and they are very bad, vicious, ruthless people, they would happily turn this country into a slave state under debt. John Adams said there's two ways to conquer and enslave a country. One is by the sword, the other is by debt. And we are looking down the barrel of that gun, ladies and gentlemen. I kid you not. We cannot allow this student loan injustice to stand. The loans are going to go away, but we don't want them to go away by our aging out and dying and getting them discharged that way. We want these loans gone now. We want a good, clean, quick death right now. And what what you do in the next month is really probably going to tell the tale. So it takes a village, guys, and many hands make heavy work light. And we need you. And you do not want to be the person sitting here 5 years from now, completely effed on your student loans, saying to yourself, wow, I really should have gotten off my ass 5 years ago and done those stupid little daily actions that guy was talking about. I didn't. We're still screwed. And Don't be that guy. Don't be that person. Does none of us any good. Procrastination, expecting somebody else to pull your weight for you, that never works, never has worked, never will work. So, anyways, have a great week. Remember, check us out on Twitter tomorrow. Let me just click that in for you one last time. Like us on Twitter and get ready for tomorrow's action. I would love for this thing that we're going to do tomorrow on Twitter to go viral. So please help with that. Okay, I'm out. Good luck. Godspeed. And God bless everybody. Have a great week.